All right, the complete supply chain of some generic consumer junk.
Precisely 5 minutes after the homeowner leaves for work in the morning, a package is gently delivered to their doorstep containing an impulse purchase from the night before. This box is just one of 36 million that will be delivered across America.
You ever watch an Amazon driver work when you're driving by them? Most stressed out people you will ever see. If you think you're having a bad day, drive past an Amazon delivery driver and they're just they're like, if I can deliver something, run back to their car, fucking get in, go to the next house, go to the next apartment. They got to fucking deliver some shit 6 stories up. Oh my God, they're freaking out the whole time. It's terrible. Dude, they churn employees at Amazon like fucking butter, dude. So fast. 1 in, 1 out every 2 months.
America over the next 10 hours, serving a growing appetite for home-delivered consumption. But inside this particular package is a humble paper shredder purchased for $59.99 with free delivery. As far as modern products...
Next day delivery makes no fucking sense to me. I understand I live in New Jersey, so there's a lot of shit around. It's different from like if you live in like a rural Nebraska. Bro, how the fuck? I understand if I order like protein powder or some basic shit paper that comes in next day. I have ordered like random niche products and it says next day shipping. They just have that in a warehouse. Like my possum costume came in 2 days. 2 days. They just have a possum costume on hand. Why? Why? They're waiting. They know somebody's gonna order that. That's what freaks me out. Them having a paper shredder next day, whatever. Now he's gonna go into how the paper shredder's made, and it's gonna mind fuck me. But that doesn't freak me out that it's like in a warehouse. Because yeah, people are gonna order a fucking paper shredder. People are gonna order a Keurig or like a coffee pot or a mug. You know, I get that.
It's actually pretty basic. It only has 40 components in total, and they are each made from common generic materials. But even to assemble this cheap desktop appliance, those simple parts collectively traveled over 500,000 kilometers, went through...
Yeah, in a fucking lithium mine. There's some shit. The fucking battery, dude, literally any random product you have, part of that shit's from like fucking Australia, South Africa, Germany, Iceland, Norway. It's all just combined together.
Hundreds of industrial facilities in dozens of countries employed thousands of workers, and it all started right here.
Was this a fucking bomb test?
In the Northern Territory of Australia, the Alkangove mine extracts 12.5 million tons of bauxite every year.
What the fuck is bauxite? See, that's what I'm talking about, bro. Everything you use on a day-to-day basis, you know nothing about. Bauxite? What is that? Plastic?
Australia is
for aluminum ore?
The largest producer of this raw material in the world, and this mine is one of its biggest. The operation is simultaneously so remote and massive that it's actually the 4th largest township in a region roughly twice the size of France. This is particularly impressive since the permanent population of the outpost is actually less than a few hundred people. Almost everybody here at a given time flies into work at this—
But you never meet a motherfucker with this job! You never meet a motherfucker who does that! That's what I'm saying, bro. No. Everybody I know, yeah, I work at Walmart. I'm an electrician. I'm a plumber. I work for an airline. I'm a nurse. I need to meet a motherfucker that's like, yeah, I work at a fucking carbon factory. Cause who the fuck works there? But there's so many, because why are you screaming? Bro, because that's like so many jobs in the world, but I know no one I don't even know somebody that knows somebody that works at a fucking, like I know people that work at Amazon factories. I don't know anybody that works at like a fucking coal mine or some shit. Now I know a lot of that's like out of country, but even then, like other random niche things, I'm like, who the fuck, like like somebody that works at like a trash mill, or like a recyclable place. Or a water plant. I don't know anybody Who works there? I don't know. Fucking random people.
mine and then flies out back to
It's automated? Bro, a lot of it's automated, but there's still people there.
civilization once their roster is complete. And if
You know less than 0.08% of the world? Dude, I know less than 0.0000001% of the world. Even then, though, I'm saying, like, in your region, there are people that have jobs, not around mining in Australia, obviously, unless you live in Australia. But, like, you know people, or there's people in your area that work at, like, a nuclear fucking facility.
the mining process that takes place here is almost astonishingly simple. Most of the material that they're after is literally sitting on the surface, so instead of drilling deep into the earth, they just blow up the dirt and scoop it into giant trucks. This crude technique is highly effective and economical, but it does have one unintended side effect. Since
Bro, you want to know the what? I need to meet somebody that runs one of these. What is that bucket? What is that bucket machine that's big as hell and it's a circle and it just goes roof, 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 and it picks stuff up? What's the name of that? It's like an excavator of sorts, but it works at like mines. Excavator, scoop, wheel, truck. But this on a bigger scale. I need to meet somebody that runs one of these. What a badass machine to fucking control. You own one of these diggers that just fucking picks up thousands of pounds of dirt and supplies.
everything happens at the surface, the red dirt of this sprawling extraction site are easily visible from space. Either way, once it's collected, the raw material is moved along an 18-kilometer conveyor belt to a processing and storage yard at the very tip of the peninsula, where the alumina ore is separated from other impurities. It's kept here until a buyer sends a bulk carrier to dock at the mine's dedicated shipping port. And then it's back on another conveyor belt to a ship waiting almost a mile offshore. The vessels moving this material are some of the largest bulk freighters in the world. They're so large that they can't actually get that close to shore without a dedicated deep-water port, and those are expensive. The port only handles two particular products in bulk. Ships take out raw alumina and bring in heavy fuel oil, which is used in a self-contained electrical plant to power both the industrial mine site and the local township. Both raw ore and liquid fuel can be piped or moved on a conveyor, so it's easier to get the cargo out across the ocean to the ship than to bring the ship to the cargo at the shallow shore. Once loaded, this glorified pile of dirt will start a 3-week journey up the Malacca Strait, through the Indian Ocean, the Suez
This stresses me out. Like, I understand this was all developed in specialized trade over generations and years, but this is the supply chain for one singular cog in a printer. One.
Canal and the Mediterranean to end up here on almost exactly the opposite side of the planet, in Iceland. This small
What?
country is blessed with almost unlimited
Wait, they shipped it to Iceland?
through the Indian Ocean, the Suez Canal, and the Mediterranean to end up here on almost exactly the opposite side of the planet.
They're shipping aluminum from Australia to Iceland to probably go to somewhere else to make 1/50th of a printer. What? Dude, Iceland's literally on the opposite side of the world.
This small country
What the fuck do they need to ship it to Iceland for?
is blessed with almost unlimited geothermal power, which makes the energy-intensive process of turning raw alumina into refined aluminium very cost-effective and environmentally friendly compared to alternative plants that power their operations with.
Dude, deadass, imagine living right there. Is this a nuclear power plant? These are like smokestacks. Dude, imagine living... That house is 100 feet away from that.
Fossil fuels. Thousands of tons of raw alumina oxide
They're safe? Bro, I know they're safe and they rarely explode, but imagine your outside view being a literal nuclear power plant.
operations with fossil fuels. Thousands of tons of raw alumina oxide is loaded into massive furnaces and then electrolytically separated into pure aluminium. If you ever did an electrolysis experiment in science class separating out hydrogen and oxygen, the process is almost the same. Only it's done with molten metal instead of water, and the energy requirements are an order of magnitude greater. To refine just 1 ton of aluminium takes approximately 15 megawatt hours of electricity. To put that into perspective, that would be enough energy to drive a standard Tesla Model 3 over 60,000 miles, or
How is it $50 for the fucking printer? How is it $50 for the fucking printer? Why is it not 35 grand? Enough energy to make 1 ton of this? 2,000 pounds? Just one part of this machine? Enough energy to fucking drive a goddamn Tesla around the world multiple times?
this plant, on the other hand, smelts more than 1,000 tons
What is the circumference of the Earth? I know it's mass production. Bro, you could drive the Tesla around the Earth 3 times.
every day. The reason it's worth it to ship this raw material halfway across the world is because the energy savings of refining aluminium in Iceland with its cheap electricity pay for the increased shipping costs more than 10 times over.
And somebody figured that out. Nah. Somebody figured that out, bro. Somebody was like, what if instead of making the aluminum here, we shipped it all the way across the entire world where they could use lava to do it and geothermal energy.
Once this process is completed, the molten aluminium is poured into ingot molds and then stacked into pallets, which can then be loaded back onto the same kind of bulk
Yeah, and watch this motherfucker say they shipped that shit from Iceland back to China.
carrier that delivered the raw materials in the first place. Normally, these ships are loaded with loose dry goods, but they're effectively just big floating boxes. If they can safely store something in their holds, they can ship it. From there, the next destination, back through the Mediterranean and the Suez, is up to the Chinese city of Foshen.
Stop. Dude, this is too much. This is too much. This is too fucking much. This is for one. Dude, this is just aluminum.
This industrial city center across the bay from
Pre-watch, bro. Everything's made in China.
Hong Kong and Shenzhen has become a trade hub for raw materials like copper, steel, and aluminium.
Kapatubin.
Vendors like Henan Aluminium Industrial Company will buy these ingots directly from smelting plants and then ship them to their
I think I need to invest in Henan Xinte Aluminum Industry Co. Ltd. I think I want to invest in this company in Henan, China.
warehouses across the river. These businesses then wholesale these raw ingots, but also turn them
How do I buy stock in that company?
into alloyed sheets and plates to be sold at a slight markup to industrial customers throughout southern China. A lot of these products are sold through existing contact networks, but if you're inclined to buy industrial quantities of metal, they also post their wares on sites like Alibaba. Although
I can buy the aluminum sheets from Alibaba. What would I use? Minimum order 25 tons? What the fuck? Why would I ever order 25 tons of fucking aluminum sheets from Alibaba? Even if you're a business, there's no way they're ordering that from Alibaba.
Although you do need to buy 5 tons at a time, so
Bro.
it should last you a while. The 6061 grade aluminium alloy from Iceland can actually charge a slight premium over regular sheets because certain suppliers prefer the European manufacturer's quality control and green manufacturing process. Of course, most manufacturers simply don't care as long as the material gets the job done, so the marketplace between vendors and buyers is fierce. However, once a deal is made, 30 tons of cylindrical alloy beams are loaded onto a barge and floated another 1,000 kilometers up the Pearl River to a machining plant just on the outskirts of the city of Nanning. It's probably a city you've never heard of, but it's home to nearly
Oh yeah, but there's 80 million fucking people there. Hey, this is a random city in China you've never heard of in your entire life, but look how many fucking skyscrapers there are. This is where 1% of the world lives.
9 million people, and is
That's like New York City. This is a New York City of people.
a major producer of the parts that make the products you interact with every day. Once the beams are unloaded into the factory warehouse, they're loaded into grinding machines to etch out a basic spoke pattern, and then they're sliced lengthwise to produce hundreds of basic standardized gears. Mechanical parts made out of aluminium are not nearly as strong as those made out of steel, but the lighter weight and easier machinability of this metal makes it very popular for low-stress applications in basic consumer machines. Once they're machined, the pallets of
Bro, this is like a hyper in-depth episode of how it's made. Because how it's made will start with the items used. They don't start with the production and manufacturing of said items. Because how it's made would start with a cog. This is an entire episode of how the cog's even made.
gears and then shipped back down the river to another buyer who ordered the parts in bulk a month before. At this point, the 1 ton of raw bauxite scraped out of the ground back in Australia has been turned into 5,000 little metal gears. The net material hasn't
Awesome.
actually changed that much, apart from a few trace metals thrown in to form an alloy. However, as unrefined ore, it would sell in China for around $75 a ton. These basic gears, on the other hand, are now going to be sold in exactly the same city for $5,000.
I need to invest in this Chinese company. How do I do it?
A markup of 600%, which has so far justified every
Aluminum gears, chat. That's the business I'm getting into now.
step in the process, but it's not done yet. These gears are actually being forwarded from Guangzhou to another buyer in Vietnam. They're loaded onto a 20-foot shipping container and then into a small cargo ship, which will make the short 2-day journey from the Ocean Gate shipping terminal. No, not
A 2-day journey short.
that Ocean Gate, to the port city of Haiphong. Over time, as China has developed, it's actually started outsourcing a lot of its basic manufacturing the same way that the West has outsourced their basic manufacturing to China. Chinese workers and businesses have developed an array of highly technical industrial skills and expertise. Cities like Guangzhou are also not cheap to operate in anymore, and workers in these cities demand wages enough to compensate for this cost of living. What this means is that basic hand assembly is far more economical in Vietnam than it is back in China. Major manufacturers like LG, Samsung, Bridgestone, Yazaki, and Foxconn all have massive manufacturing plants in this city because it's one of the most competitive places in the world to put stuff together. It's still close to China, so technical pieces can be imported and assembled components can be exported with very few barriers, while line workers here simply earn about 1/5 of what similar Chinese workers would make a few thousand miles up north.
Damn. So we're buying shit from China, but China's outsourcing that to Vietnam
In this
or
case,
Thailand.
the gears end up in a smaller factory that specializes in low-end consumer hardware. Here, the gears are attached by hand to an electrical motor, which is then combined with lower-stress plastic gears, a rubber belt, a stack of steel teeth, all held together by an injection-molded plastic case. None of these components were made in this factory, just being put together here. In fact, each and every one of them have all taken a similar journey from raw material extraction to refineries, machining, component manufacturing, and assembly, in addition to all the warehousing and shipping that comes with it. But the journey is still not over yet. The technical components have all been assembled, but that package back on the doorstep in America didn't contain an EC43515 MCD P4 crosscut electric shredder subassembly. It contained a user-ready paper shredder. Most manufacturers don't want to deal with the stress and persnickety requests that come from retail clients. So once this housing is assembled, it's shipped back to China to a warehouse that produces white-labeled consumer products for several retailers across the world. These generic internals will...
Dude, this is so much. I don't understand how they profit on that. You know what I mean? The 5,000 cogs are worth 5K, but like you're only using like fucking 10 of them in the printer. But then you have so many other products. How are they making money? Like, what do you think the profit margins on the printer are? Well, people are making money on the back end every time. Australia's making money shipping it to Iceland. Iceland's making money giving it to China. China's making money giving it back to itself in another city, giving it to Thailand, giving it back to China, assembling it, giving it to another company that then assembles that and gives it to the average consumer. But like, dude, why is it not more than $50? How is it $50? I understand its efficiency and mass production. That's what it is. It really just is mass production. Because those cogs are used, there's a standardized like set of, you know, rivets, nails, cogs, and they use a lot of the same things for, like, those cogs aren't just used for printers. They're used for a million things. So they're making fucking a million of them in a week. And then they're fucking putting those into a bunch of different products. But it's like the fact that there's one factory that just makes these cogs. There's one factory that just makes these things is insane to me.
Paper shredder, some of which will cost significantly more than others. The way it works is that a retailer from a country like America will design a plastic housing to go around the internal components and then sell their model to end users. In this case, the American retailer will work with the Chinese wholesaler to pick some injection molded shapes and colors which they think will work with their branding to best appeal to their target consumers in their home market. The Chinese factory produces large batches of these models for a fixed price and will also work with other suppliers on packaging. Additionally, a printed cardboard box and foam insulation is provided by a supplier in Thailand, and everything is put together and loaded onto specially compliant pallets which are then placed into a 40-foot shipping container. From there, the Chinese wholesaler and the American retailer use a third-party customs broker who specializes in booking slots on container ships and making sure everything gets through customs at each end with minimal headaches. Since the boxes containing the paper shredders are not particularly large,
I used to be upset at myself. Like, the next philosophy video I'm posting is how, like, specialized labor is kind of crazy, but also really good. But I'm fully okay with the fact that I know how nothing works now. Because there's no point in me learning. There's no point in me learning how my printer works because it's too much. But I don't even think that, like, from each individual perspective, like, of the Icelandic people that are making the aluminum, they're not going, I need to know how this works with a printer. They're just going, I need to know how to make an aluminum. The one factory goes, I need to know how to make cogs. The one factory goes, I need to know how to assemble these cogs. So it's like they all know minimal things.
Large, heavy, or dangerous, they can be forwarded straight from the port in Los Angeles to the Amazon inbound cross-dock a few miles up.
But isn't that a little scary too? How if like one end of this production line faults, everything fails. You know? Like, obviously there's bigger ones further back. Like, if you don't make the aluminum, then obviously you can't make anything. But like, if the cog factory blows up, there's none of these printers for a little bit. Unless they find a new supplier.
Trucks constantly drive this route 24 hours a day, taking containers from the dockside to this distribution warehouse in a process called dryage. From this, the containers are unpacked, and individual products are then organized and sent out across the country to strategically placed fulfillment centers where they'll await a midnight impulse purchase. This whole process was just one single branch of a very small basic product tree. Tracing the origin of every component in this shredder would literally take hours, and that's to say nothing of goods with thousands of far more technical parts. Even this cheap basic appliance.
Far more technical parts. I feel like I would love to see a video. I think the video of how an iPhone is made is probably 5 hours long. To go through every individual part of like a phone or a computer, like how your GPU is made, like how the fucking tablet you're watching me on, the fucking TV you're watching me on, a 4090 GPU. How the fuck is that made? The way CPUs are made is insane. Oh my god, dude, it's probably so technical. Yeah, CPUs, but aren't CPUs largely made... Is it CPUs or GPUs that are largely made in Taiwan?
Which will statistically,
I think it's CPUs, right?
only be used about 12 times before being disposed of, traveled many times around the world, because that's the cheapest way to do things. Australia has resources.
I don't know. Chat's giving me different answers here. GPUs.
Iceland has practically unlimited energy. China has an
That's just Blue Lagoon in Iceland. This isn't even a... I don't think this is a factory. This is Blue Lagoon in Iceland. I've been here.
unlimited energy. China has an unrivaled industrial network. Vietnam has a large, cheap workforce, and the...
God, dude, driving in Iceland was fucking terrible. Their roads are so nice, but they constantly have to, like, refix them up and shit. And I was driving past, like, freshly paved asphalt, and I just hear... just rocks hitting the bottom of the car, and I'm like, this is a fucking rental. This is a rental. And for like 5 minutes straight, just fucking slamming the bottom of the car. I'm like, dude, this shit's gonna explode.
USA has insatiable consumers. It's up to you to decide if you think this web of comparative advantage has really made the world a better place. But what it has done is made things cheaper and more convenient. Today, a paper shredder is an impulse purchase, but just 50 years ago, an electronic device like this would have been a family heirloom.
What the fuck is a paper shredder for? We haven't addressed that yet. What the fuck is a paper shredder for? Shredding paper, but why? Like important things, like documents and checks. Why not just rip it up like 15 times? It's like legal shit. Like if you're like a lawyer or something, or like a business, it's just easier to shred it. I guess that's why it's an impulse buy.
If there's one invention above all of that which has made this possible, it's the Humble Box. Most
Why do more than 2 of you own a paper shredder?
of these parts have been ferried around in along the way. So if you liked this video, go and check out the next one on
I loved that. I loved that video. It stressed me out, but I enjoyed it. Next video, chat.